Looks like it's just sandwiching that gear on that shaft is all it's doing. So these two snap rings look identical. So I just kind of have to look here and see like what would prevent the crankcase from sliding out. Okay, not this. This is just retaining this oil seal in the main crankshaft. I'll take these nuts off when I'm ready to actually split the case. This is just another bearing. This is holding the main bearing in, so I'm pretty sure on the clutch side of the crankcase we are done. I'm gonna have to work on getting this nasty gasket off. So I think I have a new gasket kit. I'm replacing all the gaskets in this thing. I'm gonna make sure everything gets torqued to spec. I'm actually toying with the idea of changing out all the machine screws on the crankcase to Allen keys, or Allen machine screws. I feel like I could just torque them just a little bit more accurately rather than having them as machine screws. So I might actually do that. Okay, so that said, I am going to see you on the other side of the crankcase. So let me flip this engine around and we'll work on the magneto side. And ultimately we're working to get right in here, right to the center, right into the center section here. This is where the actual transmission is. And this is where I'm going to make sure that the bell crank and everything is all cleaned out, nice and, I've got all this sand and gunk out of there. Sand, clutch, dust, I don't know what it is. I got to tell you, it's really kind of throwing me through a loop here as to what that could possibly be. That is so nasty. And I can tell you 100% that there was water in the oil. It wasn't a ton, but the oil was just way too runny to not be water. And I mean, not to mention the fact I watched it separate. So after 2 days or whatever, it's sitting there, like it actually separated. So I know there was water in the case. But again, fortunately, I'm not seeing a whole bunch of rust and stuff around, these individual parts. So, all right, let's do it. Other side. So I got the 30231 Yamaha tool. So basically, this is just the magneto puller. It works pretty simple. So the inside here is threaded. So all we're going to do is thread onto the magnet itself, and then when we basically screw in this bolt, it's just going to go ahead and push off of this center crankshaft, and basically it'll pull the magnet off of the shaft. So one thing to keep in mind is these are reverse threads, right? And they're really thin, they're really fine threads, and so you kind of want to, I think I'm actually going to get a brass brush real quick and kind of clean out these threads really good, because the last thing I want to do is like strip them. But it's going to be lefty tighty, righty loosey on this one. So let me grab that brush. Millimeter nut, and I think I'm just going to use a crescent wrench on this side. Technically, I could probably use the other side of the crankshaft, because all of this turns together, like the crankshaft is one piece. But I really want to prevent the connecting rod from kind of getting gouged and being thrown around. Like every time you turn this, see how it kind of just throws it around. So I think I'm just going to stick here. I'm going to get my oversized crescent wrench here, and then a 17 millimeter socket here, and then actually I'll try my impact drill first, just my electric one here, and I'll see if that'll be enough just to kind of pull it off of the shaft there. All right, let's see if I can get that to work. came right off. See, that was actually pretty easy. Got a lot of corrosion up in there. Oh no, I've got some work to do on these. I mean, I can still use this. I'm not that worried about this, but a lot of corrosion in there, so. Move this plate, so I'll set this off to the side for a minute. But I'm going to remove this plate, so just this screw and this screw, and then really I should just be able to pull out all of the wires, so I can slide this out, slide this off of the case. Do that screw and that screw. The entire stator assembly should just come out as one piece, and then I'll have to kind of evaluate. I'll probably have to get out my multimeter and do some continuity tests and stuff and make sure that it's still in working order, but cleaning this thing up is going to be a chore. I'm going to have to be careful with that. I think I might have to get one of those real impact drivers that you actually smack with a hammer on that sucker. Okay, so now that I've got the stator plate off. Okay, it looks all corroded. Again, I'm going to have to get out a continuity tester and just kind of make sure everything is still good. I mean, the wires don't look like they're in that bad a condition, but there's a lot of corrosion on this thing, and I think I can get that off, and I don't think that should be a big deal. So one of the things I had to make sure of was I had to disconnect this piece right here, this green one. This is actually the neutral. So when we pull the crankcase apart, you'll see how there's a little nub that pops up and basically grounds that. So that's how it knows, the engine knows that it's a neutral. So that had to be disconnected as well. It's just a little Phillips screw right here. Okay, and then from here, you can kind of see how I had to destroy this screw to get out. I should have just used my impact driver to begin with, but I mean like the manual hammer one. So we got to take this screw out, this screw, this screw, this screw, this screw, this one. So there's a bunch like right here in a circle. There's one right here, right? So these are all I'm actually going to take all of these out with, you know, my impact tool. So I actually found that using my electric impact driver on the exterior screws on the case actually works pretty good. But I don't know. I just don't like these Phillips screws. So I think that when it comes down to it, I am going to replace these with Allen machine screws. Okay. So that said, I'm just going to finish screwing these out. I actually, now that I have them all cracked, I'm going to kind of shortcut and I'm going to zip them out with all this. And we'll see if they're all the same length. Okay, so I have all the screws loose. So now let me just go ahead and I'll just start pulling them out at from 12 o'clock and making my way around. So 12 o'clock and 1 o'clock are the same length. Okay, so then we get down to about 4 o'clock. So that's about a ½ inch shorter. Down to 5 o'clock. That's the same length as 4 o'clock. 7 o'clock. This one, 7 o'clock is the same let me see. 7 o'clock is the same length as 12 o'clock and 1 o'clock. And then over here, we're gonna call this 9 o'clock. 9 o'clock is the same length as 3 o'clock and 4 o'clock. So, so that's the inside of the case. And then again, this is kind of where you're doing that whole gap thing, like I kind of mentioned on the other side of the case, is measure this distance right here, and I can tell you right now that's about 12 millimeters again. So if I pull out this one next to the shifter, that one is obviously longer than all of these. Okay, so if I take this one and put it in one of these holes, that's way over 12 millimeters, right? If I take a short one, it just sinks all the way in. So that's obviously not it. So even if you kind of get these screws mixed up, like you should be able to figure out where each screw goes just based on as soon as they're all the way all backed out and ready to start grabbing threads, they should all be the same length. And I've noticed that so far on this engine. Every one of them is 12 millimeters. So, okay, so I got all those out on this side. I'm gonna, oh, I missed one. I missed one. There's this guy right there. I don't know if you see it. It's got some white corrosion on the top of it, but I missed it. So let's go ahead and get that one out. Just loosen it. Ooh, he's tight.